Now, while, of course, the Eon and the Piper Cub are climbing up to altitude, we're going to be entertained by a rather wonderful aeroplane I haven't seen fly here for a while yet. It's been undergoing long-term maintenance. It is, of course, the Hawker Tomtit, who's contending for the RAF Basic Trainer. The Basic Trainer contract. Now what's interesting is it's powered by quite a powerful engine, 150 horsepower Armstrong Siddeley Mongoose. Isn't that a wonderful name? Whereas the de Havilland competitor,
so it's absolutely right up to date with its nose.
It's bad for an aeroplane built in 1931.
Exactly, it's amazing, isn't it? Lovely looking little aircraft.
As I said, used by a number of RAF units, including the famous 24 Squadron, who were based at RAF Hendon, now the home of the RAF Museum. Oh, shit. Particular Hawker Tomtit was the last, and as I said,
the last one they ever made.
Last one they ever made, and the only flying one anywhere in the world. Another reason why you come to Shuttleworth.
Well, that applies to most stuff in Shuttleworth.
Most of the stuff in Shuttleworth's collection, yeah. Whether it be car, traction engine, aircraft, motorbike.
Yes, fine. It's fine. It's all good.
Well, many thanks to Willie Hackett, who was flying the Eon primary glider. And many thanks also to John Hurrell, flying the Hawker Tumtic, just taxiing back in now. Now we're going to see, not the next item on our display, but the one after that depart fairly shortly, a pair of Pitts Specials. And then we're going to see something, well, back to Monty Python again, aren't we? And now for something completely different, which is a rather wonderful 1930s Stearman biplane with a young lady strapped to the outside. We're talking the wing walking team.
Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Davis taxiing down the display line with his big waving hand and his Union Jack. Do give him a wave back. 3 Tiger Moths starting their display. Meanwhile, our 3 racing aircraft, we have the DH88 Comet, the Hawk Speed 6, getting airborne underneath. I'll be clearing off again to the hold. Form up in formation, let the Tigers do their thing before they come in.
Yeah, that power knob, but I got his power today. Oh my god, this looks quite good close, isn't it?
High above us, the collection's own Tiger Moth starting a series of aerobatics. You can see those red and white checker markings. That's the colour scheme of the Central Flying School aerobatic team in order to maintain the centre of weight and the centre of gravity. So that's fine, absolutely super. The trouble is when they swept the bottom wing, he hit the ground. So, yeah, not a good idea, that one. So they then had to put dihedral formation. From the left, ladies and gentlemen, 3 of the most thoroughbred racing aeroplanes ever produced anywhere in the world. Lead aircraft, of course, the beautiful streamlined shape of the de Havilland DH88 Comet. Just an absolute joy. The original version, the racing version of this aircraft, a pair of 224 horsepower Gypsy 6Rs, are for racing. Currently flying with 210 horsepower Gypsy 6s. The 6R is a bit difficult to come by, they don't make very many of them. The white aircraft on the right hand side of the formation as you're looking at it now, the Percival Mughal, famous for setting the record from London to South Africa in the hands of Alec Henshaw, the famous submarine test pilot. Interestingly, he did that using one of the Gypsy 6R engines out of the lead aircraft, the red aircraft, as I said, they didn't make many of the R version, the racing engines, so they tended to be used in a number of airframes. In order to set the record, Alec Henshaw got one of the aircraft out of the DH88, one of the engines out of the DH88 to put it in his aeroplane and set a new record. The last aircraft, of course, the Miles Hawk Speed 6. And if that aircraft looks at all familiar, it's because you've seen two of them already in a slightly different guise. The Miles Magister. Now, Fred Miles was a very, very smart man. First of all, he did everything his wife said. And his wife's name was Blossom. And what's not widely known is Blossom did most of the design work for Miles' aircraft. She was a genius. But because she was a woman working in what was pretty much a man-only field at the time, basically her husband took credit for the design. Now, one of her first monoplane designs was the Miles Hawk. The Miles Hawk Mark III was developed into the Magister that you see here. And if you look at the tailplanes of the Magister, the yellow one and the camouflage one, that are both parked on the flight line here, look at the tailplanes and the wings, you'll see that they're very, very similar indeed to the last aircraft in this formation, the Speed 6. Because essentially, the Speed 6 is a single-seat version of the Miles Hawk, with a much bigger engine in it, and those beautiful, almost pen-like fairings on the main undercarriage legs. And with that paint scheme, it really is an Art Deco aeroplane. It really is something, it's undeniably 1930s, isn't it? This one built in 1935, in fact.
Strapping yourself into that versatile new gun and getting down to Cape Town, the bottom end of Africa, in just 39 hours.
Yep. And then coming back.
Coming back again, only 11 minutes difference. Just crazy.
Now, what you've got to look, Alec Henshaw did that, set the new Cape record, London to Cape Town. There was no GPS. There were very few maps with any detail for most of Africa. He was pretty much flying on things that said, we think there's a river here, with a vague line on a map somewhere. It was an extraordinary adventure.
He told me he basically flew from known city to known city. And that was it. With a compass, as you say, not many maps, basically just with a compass.
Compass and a stopwatch. That's pretty much it. All the way down Africa and all the way back again. One of the largest continents on the planet. And that is just a remarkable story. That new goal, very, very fast. Again, we said about efficiency. It's 210 horsepower. Look at the pilot's position in the cockpit. Because you're sitting really low down. In fact, you're sitting a bit like an alligator in a swamp with just your nose sticking out. Because only your eyes are above the line of the coaming, the line of the engine. So you can't see where you're going at all. The nose just blocks it out. Now you're sitting behind the wing. So the wing is also blotting out the land on either side, so you can't see anything ahead of you at all. You can see where you are to either side of you, but you can't see where you're going at all.
After the Cape Town trip, he had the seat basically removed and he sat on the floor and then won the King's Cup.
Race at 210 miles an hour, followed by the King's Cup in 1938 at 236 miles an hour.
So the seat trick worked.
So the seat trick obviously worked. Followed by the Cape record in 1939, all the way to Cape Town. Just one. Bugle just landed, taxiing off.
That must be a nightmare to taxi. Look at that.
No, because you can't see anything ahead
Can't
of
see
you.
anything anywhere.
You've got to swing it from side to side, just in order to see where you're going. Well, Sharp flying the bugle for us today. Many thanks to him. It's a real display of just how fast that little aeroplane is. So now, ladies and gentlemen, if you care to turn your attention to the left, running in probably one of the most beautiful aeroplanes anywhere in the world. Beautiful. That's the incomparable de Havilland DH88 Comet takes centre stage for its display. Now this was remarkable in every sense of the word. An air race was announced between Mildenhall and Melbourne, known as the England-Australia Air Race, the Robertson Prize. And it was decided by de Havilland they were going to build a racing aircraft to enter it. Here's the problem. From the time they first laid down a blueprint sheet of paper to design this aeroplane to the air race was only 9 months. 11,300 miles this aeroplane had to travel, and stopping off to refuel at various locations along the way, all the way down the old Empire route, down from England, through Europe, the Middle East, down through India, the Far East, and all the way down to Australia. 11,300 miles. Again, no GPS, just a map, stopwatch and a compass. And it completed it successfully, winning the race. Not a replica, ladies and gentlemen, the actual aircraft you're looking at won the race in just 71 hours. Deliberately designed for air racing, as I said, originally with the higher powered Gypsy 6R engines. And its sole intent was to take 2 people along that route as fast as possible. No other concessions were made. Again, you're sitting very low in the cockpit. Can't see forward because of the nose, can't see to either side because of the wing and the engine. So in this aeroplane, unlike the Percival Bugle, you can't see where you're going, you can't see where you are, but you can see where you've been. Now you imagine flying non-stop, well, with fuel stops obviously, all the way down to Australia like that. Just a remarkable thing. Scott and Campbell Black, the 2 pilots winning the air race.
Talking earlier about the Spitfire's distinctive wing shape, but this is also a distinctive de Havilland shape, isn't it?
Oh, very much so.
This thin, narrow, highly tapered wingtip.
De Havilland DH91 Albatross 4-engine airliner had the same wing. And that was a beautiful aeroplane as well. (6,450 miles), and it did it in 10 days, 21 hours, 22 minutes. That's how fast this thing is. It can actually do 250 miles an hour, 255 miles an hour on the flat. Quite a remarkable performer. We're built for the race and competing. Now, if you consider this aircraft was designed purely as a racing aeroplane for nothing else, what came second in the Robertson race was a big surprise, because it showed how fast commercial aviation was catching specialist advanced aviation, because the second aircraft home in Melbourne in the McRobertson race was a DC-2 of KLM with a full load of passengers and mail. Douglas had built the DC-2 not as a racing aeroplane, but as a commercial airliner, and it proved to be just as fast and effective as a pure-blood racing aeroplane. That's how fast things were moving in the 30s in the development of aviation.
Of course, its only slight fault was the problem in landing it, sometimes in uncertain winds, and we're seeing now this is a very tricky aircraft to land, so don't be surprised if you see 2 or 3 attempts at landing. It's all very normal. There's nothing wrong with the aircraft. It's just the pilot.
A bit more time to wonder at this beautiful aircraft. And once again, that's one of the great things about the Shuttleworth collection. You're not looking at a replica there, you're looking at the actual aeroplane that was built for the race and won the race in 1934. And as such, it's irreplaceable, but they still fly them. And there are so many aircraft here, they're the only remaining examples of their type, and they still fly them. And that's one of the great joys about Shuttleworth. It's not a museum, it's a living museum. It's a very different kettle of fish. Third time out today for our chief engineer Jean Munn, flying the DH88 Comet. Many thanks to him for that beautiful display and a wonderful aeroplane.
Those of you who are fans of motor racing and motor development, the name Delage, particularly Gustave Delage, may mean something to you. He was a very famous French designer of cars. What few people know is he also designed aeroplanes. In fact, he designed this one. This is the Newport 17. It's a development of the earlier Newport 11.